everybody, and welcome to challenge number 2. Ellie and I would just like to say thank you so much for all your photos, your videos, your comments and your messages from challenge number 1. We loved looking at your design shelters that you did for us. Some of you were outside, some of them did it inside, some of them on paper. We love them, so thank you so much. We enjoyed them, didn't we, Ellie? We are here on a gorgeous April's day with Lulu running around in the park and Ellie in here helping us to talk about challenge number 2. Now, challenge number 2 is all about insect bites and stings, and also anything else that can hurt us as we go about our daily exercise in the garden, or maybe if you are out and about in the local park or the woodlands. It's very quiet here because we got here very early, but there's a few little dog walkers that are waving to us, aren't they, Ellie? So just wave away to them. Okay, so let's talk about things that can hurt us, Ellie. Ellie, what can hurt us as we go about our daily exercise? Ellie says dogs. Well, yes, dogs could bite us. But also, what else? Yeah, insects can, and also some plants in the local gardens, your gardens, and also in the parks and woodlands. So we're going to talk about things that can hurt us here in the UK. Remember, if you're watching from outside the UK, then have a look or investigate, research what could actually hurt you if you are running around the local woodlands or parks. So let's talk about insects, stings and bites. Now, what kind of insects could hurt us in the UK? Yes, well done. So we've got things like mosquitoes, midges, what else? Horseflies, wasps, bees, hornets, ticks. Oh, stop itching when I talk about them. Bed bugs, small little mites. So lots of things like that could be around, and spiders. I forgot about spiders, Ellie. So all these things could actually cause bites. Now, it's a good idea to know what it is that maybe bit us or stung us, but sometimes we're not always aware because they're very small. We might not have seen them because we might have been just running very fast past something and it just all of a sudden we go, ow, we don't know what it was. Now, even if we did see it, Ellie, I don't think I could probably know what it was that maybe bit me or stung me. So what we're going to do as we're talking through this video, we might be able to play you some photos, some slideshows, so you can identify different types of insects that could occur here in the UK. So you might just see them pop up as we're talking, Ellie, okay? Just to help us as well, so we can be able to identify maybe the difference between a mosquito and a midgie. I mean, they both fly, and maybe the difference between a wasp and a bee. Right, now let's talk about the signs and symptoms of these, Ellie. So the signs and symptoms of insect bites and stings. So what could happen first? Oh, Ellie says, what's the difference between a sign and a symptom? Well, do you know? Do you know what the difference is between a sign and a symptom? Okay, well, a sign, Ellie, I'll tell them. A sign is something that you can see, and a symptom is something that I'm feeling. So with an insect bite or sting, we might see it to be red. So it's like an ouchie. So it's going to be a red ouchie there. Also, a sign might be something where it starts to swell. So you might get a big lump or a blister appearing. Or a symptom. What's a symptom then? Something that I'm feeling. So remember, if I'm feeling something, I might tell Ellie that it's very itchy. Or I might tell her it's very sore. I'm going to try and be as brave as possible. Now, most of these signs and symptoms will disappear after a few hours, maybe a few days, or on a very rare occasion, it might last longer than that. Now, some of these things that do bite and sting, they can have other complications, such as a horsefly, that might cause something to start blistering. And a tick, that could, on a very rare occasion, it could cause someone to have Lyme disease. And on the very rare occasion, some of these bites and stings can cause people to have an allergic reaction, which could be mild, or it could be a very serious allergic reaction, and that's called anaphylaxis. Do you remember that, Ellie? Anaphylaxis. I know, okay. Ellie's told me to tell you that on the next challenge video, challenge number 3, we will be talking about things like asthma and anaphylaxis, because asthma can be triggered on a day like this when there's lots of pollen around, and anaphylaxis is normally triggered by bee stings and other things as well, which we're going to talk about in challenge 3. Okay, so signs and symptoms. So signs and symptoms, we've looked at things like the redness on the ouchie, the swelling, the itchiness, the pain. And then we need to look at what we need to do to treat it, Ellie, because we've got to treat this because it's very sore for me. I'm trying to be as brave as possible. And you always try and be brave. If it's your brother or sister or your parents and carers that have got this itchiness, this ouchie, try and always be brave, because you don't want anyone ever to be worried, do you? No. Right, first thing for treatment then is to have a look. Have a look, Ellie, for me. Is there anything in there? What's in there, Ellie? Now, it could be lots of different things. What's in mine, Ellie? Oh, so first of all, she's telling me there's a bee that stung me and there's a sting is still in there. Now, if a bee has stung you and the sting's there, we need to remove it. How do we remove it? No, Ellie, we don't do that. Ellie said we're going to use something like tweezers. We definitely do not want to use tweezers. Because if you use tweezers, what you're going to do, you're going to grab hold of the sting and you're going to inject all the poison into me, and I don't want that poison in me. So no tweezers. I'm going to tell them, Ellie. Ellie said, how do I remove them? Well, I remove it by using something like a blunt edge, like a credit card. So go and get your parents and carers' credit card. Now, I've got my first aid kit with me, Ellie. I wonder how many of these are friends and family watching here have first aid kits with you when you go out for a walk. It's always important to make sure they go out with a first aid kit, isn't it, Ellie? Now, it's always better to be safe than sorry. As my mum and my gran used to say to me, it's best to be prepared. So always do try and go out with your first aid kit, because you never know when you might need it. Especially if you're running around, you fall down, you might get a little ouchy, or you might get bitten by something and you need something in your first aid kit to be able to help you. So luckily we have ours with us. So let's have a look what we can get out of there. Oh yes, Ellie, well done. So we've got a blunt edge. So imagine I've got a sting in there. I'm just going to scrape it out with your credit card or with a blunt edge. Just scrape it out like you'd be buttering a bit of toast. Okay, so scrape it out gently. Now, if you've got something in there, maybe like a tick, I always itch when I talk about ticks, then you might want to go to the vet and see if you can get a tick removal. You might already have one of these if you've got pets. And I've got one of these for Lulu, just in case she has ticks. This is a special remover, and you sometimes get them in the chemist. Now, what a tick looks like, you've probably seen the pictures already, it's like a little flat spider, and its head buries itself into you. So you get your tick remover and you push it on the skin and you go and slide it gently underneath that tick head, and then you gently lift upwards. And it's very important you do this gently because you don't want to leave the head buried in there. And then you need to remove that tick, put it back onto its habitat safely. Now, if you've got something in there like a caterpillar, I remember lots of those hairy caterpillars. I used to be fascinated as a child of hairy caterpillars. Please don't go touching hairy caterpillars. Hairy caterpillars can also cause you to have issues because what we do, it will put the hairs inside you and it can be very painful. So if you've got a caterpillar there, get your tweezers and gently remove the caterpillar away. And then what you need to do is wash the area. So get your water, because I came out, I was all prepared, I got my water. Just wash out those hairs like that, hopefully wash it out. And then allow the hand to dry. Now, when the hand is drying, what we need to do, or when it is dry, because we don't want to use a towel, because if you use a towel or something like that, you're going to push those hairs in you, and you don't want to do that, do we, Ellie? No. So we're going to get some sticky tape. Where's sticky tape? Oh, you got it in your hand. Good. So when it's dry, you're going to get the sticky tape, and like double-sided sticky tape, and just try and pull out the hairs gently. Okay, so there's a lot to do then. So treatment of all these things. First thing, if we get a sting, try and work out what it was that stung us, or hurt us, or bit us. If you don't know, don't panic because the treatment is nearly the same. Treatment was, have a look. Oh yeah, it's a bit swollen. Have a look inside there. There's something in there. We need to remove it. After we've done that, we go on to step 2. And if there wasn't anything in there, we can go straight onto this step. We need to wash it. We need to disinfect it. What do we disinfect it with? Yes, Ellie knows. Do you know? Warm soapy water. So we need to disinfect it with some warm soapy water just to clean it, or you might have a sterile solution wipe in your first aid kit you can just clean it around with. And then, oh, Ellie, it's a bit swollen. How can I get rid of that? Well done, Ellie. So Ellie's got a first aid kit and she's got what we call a disposable ice pack. So with this, we can just crack it and it becomes instantly cold. And she's going to hold that on my arm, because that's where my bite was, for 10 minutes. Thank you, Ellie. Can you just stay there for 10 minutes? Now, what would you use if you haven't got one of these? What could you use, Ellie? Can you still whisper to me? Yes, so you might be at home and you might go into the freezer and you might go and get some peas. Just make sure you wrap it up in a tea towel first and then put it on. Because remember, ice burns. Do you remember doing that in star number 5? Ice burns. So we must make sure we wrap it up first and then put it on. And if we're using it out of the first aid kit, just have a read. Make sure it's okay to put directly on the skin. What happens if we haven't got the freezer, Ellie? What could we do? Yeah, we could go and get a tea towel or your t-shirt. We could go and make it nice and wet and cold, and then we can put it on, and then we can hold it for 10 minutes, can't we, Ellie? Thank you. Okay, after 10 minutes is up, you might just need to make sure I elevate it just to keep the swelling down, or keep an eye on me, because that is when we're going to see if there's any other reactions. And on the very rare occasion, there might be. Now, hopefully the swelling will go down in a few hours, if not a few days. But if you are worried and it starts to get a little bit bigger, yeah, then you might want to go and seek medical help. Yeah, Ellie says, which one where do I go for that? Well, the chemist, or maybe phone your doctors, or maybe speak to 111, and they can give you advice of what to do. And they can advise different medication that you might want to take. Children, warning, please do not go and take any medication without your parents and carers giving you them. And parents and carers, please make sure you only get medication from the chemist. Do not go and use any of your home traditional remedies that you might have used when you were younger. Go to the chemist, they will give you advice of what to put on there, okay? And we've got to make sure, Ellie, that we're not allowed to itch it. No itching. Itching can make it a lot worse, so no itching. Ellie says, how do I stop itching? Well, I know it can get really horrible when you can find something really itchy. And maybe put gloves on you so you can't itch at it, or maybe cut your fingernails nice and short so you can't itch it. Because if you itch it, that ouch is going to last a lot longer. And I don't like it, so please don't itch. But Ellie, you've got to make sure I'm okay, because if my face starts to swell up or my mouth, or I have a breathing problem, you've got to call what number? Yes, 999. Hopefully you're shouting that out as well. 999. If it's an emergency, if it affects my breathing, please do make sure you call 999. Okay, and we'll talk more about those severe allergic reactions on challenge 3. Now, other things that can hurt us. What else can hurt us? Yes, nettle stings. Ellie had a nettle sting. She was running through the woodland and just behind us over there and got stung by a nettle. Now, if a nettle stings us and it looks like a little rash underneath the skin, then what we need to do is just make sure that we wash it again and maybe give them a cold compress, and that will hopefully help. But if we have an allergic reaction to it, again, if it's mild, speak to the chemist. If it's serious, we're going to call 999. If you've got something like a thorn or a splinter in a wound, what can we do then, Ellie? Well done, Ellie. I'm going to show them, okay? So I just show them what to do then. You come up here and just have a look at this. If you've got something small in a wound, like a little splinter here, then you may get your tweezers, because we can tweezer this because it's not a sting, and we can just grab hold of it, not digging it at the skin. We can just grab hold of the end of it, and then we can pull it out in the direction it went in. Then we need to make sure we wash it, and we need to make sure that it's all nice and clean. And if we're worried about it, such as maybe it was something quite dirty, then we might want to make sure we've had a tetanus jab. So you can ask your parents and carers if your tetanus jab is in date. And you can also find out what tetanus is. Okay, so make sure you had a tetanus jab, which most of you have. It's people older like me. Don't laugh, Ellie. And maybe your parents and carers that might not have had a tetanus jab. So you must make sure they go to get one if they had a thorn that's maybe a bit dirty and you've had to take out for them. Now, also things that can bite us, Ellie mentioned earlier, is maybe dogs or foxes. And that's exactly the same treatment as you did earlier for star 1. Do you remember what we shouted when we got an ouchie, a red ouchie? What did we shout? Code red. Yes, we did, which means rest, examine and dress. So if we've got a bite from a dog or a sore thing from maybe that's hurt us, maybe on our nose there, Ellie, then we're going to shout out code red. We're going to rest you so you can have a little rest. We're going to examine it, we're going to wash it, and then we're going to use our dressing to be able to dress it in order for her to be treated. Okay? So that's the end of challenge number 2 today. So we talked about lots of things that can hurt us as we're out and about on our walk, or in your gardens, whether it's insects, whether it's animals, or whether it's plants. Now, for your challenge for today, what I would like you to do, or what we would like you to do, is to design your own first aid kit. Yes, Ellie, they can either make one if you're creative, or you can just design it on a bit of paper and write down exactly what you would put inside there. Now this, Ellie, is going to be their first aid kit for you to take to school in your school bag. So what is it you would put inside your first aid kit that's going to be suitable for you and your friends, or maybe for your family, because we're not quite going to school just yet, but what is it you would have in your first aid kit if you were going out on a daily walk or if you were going to school? And we look forward to receiving them. And Ellie, we're going to look forward to seeing them again on Challenge 3. Thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful day and keep safe, keep well. Say goodbye, Ellie. Bye-bye.